Sorry about that last video. Ignore the last couple seconds. My Surface Pen quit, so we're going to try to wrap this up here. I'm using the mouse. We'll see how it works. Anyhow, so if you're using the scientific calculator to find the trig function value, just need to make sure you know how to get your calculator into radian mode. A lot have a DRG button that if you just hit it, it will scroll through and you'll be able to see which mode it is up here. This is the computer simulator doesn't display the same way a regular calculator would, but so sometimes it's a DRG button. That's not how this one's going to work. This one, we need to hit this setup key here. We hit shift. This is common. You have to hit shift and go to the setup. Sometimes you can just hit the mode button. It's different from one calculator to the next. In this case, we hit shift setup, and then choice 4 is to have it in radian mode. And then if we hit sine of 3.5, we get the same approximation as we got previously. So it's critical that you know how to use your calculator to enter in trig function values in radian mode. So make sure you know how to use your calculator and how to switch it between degree and radian mode. But that's just a little bit how to use three common types of calculators, including our Inspire. So then this last type of problem we want to look at here is if we have a trig function value and need to find the angle, right? So it says find theta, the angle, but we know the trig function value. Remember, for a trig function, an angle goes in and a ratio comes out, which means for an inverse trig function, the ratio goes in and the angle comes out. So this right here is a trig ratio, and I'm going to plug it into the inverse tangent function to get the angle. So I would type inverse tangent of 1.5422. The inverse tangent will undo the tangent function, and I'll be left with just theta, right? So now if I type inverse tangent of 1.5422 into my calculator, whichever calculator you want to use, I'll use the Inspire. Make sure I'm still in radian mode. I'm going to do inverse tangent of, what was it, 1.54 something? 1.5422. And when I hit enter, control enter, I get a decimal approximation of 0.9955. So theta equals 0.9955 to the nearest hundredth it asks for. So this would be equal, in this case, to 1.00 if we round to the nearest hundredth. That's just a happy coincidence that it ends up being 1. That's really unlikely that it would end up being a whole number. Okay, so just round to the appropriate whole number. But the idea here is, or excuse me, to the nearest hundredth, or whatever the directions tell you to round. But the idea here is that theta is 1 radian. You'll remember 1 radian, pi radians is 180, so a radian, well, a single radian is about a third of that, somewhere in the 55-ish degree range. Okay, so that's the size of the angle. Remember, trig ratio goes into the inverse, and a trig angle, an angle measure, comes out. So you're going to practice using the calculator going in both directions on the homework tonight, and make sure that you have all 30 of the trig function values from this chart memorized for your quiz tomorrow.